Good evening, everybody. I know at the end of the day, you're a little tired and trying to go back home. And it's not a surprise. And with due apologies, first of all, let me thank Mr. Sahu, the man who created this conference today for you, who permitted me to create this panel, and I agreed because I am also a man on a mission. Today, if you see, there's a written called Mission, Skills Development. But today, when the empty chairs and the sofas that you see, was Mr. Sahu and a few friends are there with him, demonstrate the fact that corporate India hasn't done enough for the specially abled. And I have a corporate on my right, but of course he represents SR Foundation, so you can always say that I am an NGO. But the fact that we are not many CEOs now left to hear us in the end of the evening, and I requested a few of them to stay back also, speaks many words. So what happens when you see a disabled person? Feel sympathetic, right? And the students, you must hear and understand, and if you have colleagues and friends who are disabled, I'm sure you understand more. I can only say with due experience that until and unless you have had a friend or a colleague with a disability, you will never be able to appreciate somebody's problem. And that is where we create perceptions. We all perceive that he or she is not so efficient. He or she may be a liability to the organization when we employ him. Why do the HR heads have those perceptions over years? We have a problem at hand, but there has to be solutions. Do we make it mandatory for corporates to employ? Yes, the government has made a percentage that you must employ a certain percentage. Or is it recommendatory from a CSR perspective that let's do a good work? And some of them do. And we know that some of the CSR is lip service. And I will absolutely clearly clarify that when even a few corporates who employ people from this sector look at the data, 2% of the India's population is disabled and 97% of them are unemployed. That data is the only slide that we have for the entire panel today. Of course, the panelists, my fellow panelists will speak, but that data is glaring. Has the corporate India done enough? And we talk, we attend conferences, and I was discussing with all the panelists in about half an hour back. We have roundtable conferences. We have NGOs spending lakhs of money, rupees, creating pamphlets, trying to do awareness. Everything is good, great. But the next step of giving them jobs, again that's one step, and that's where the panel will discuss. The second step, the skilling of these people. Because without the skill development, you do not bring them on parity with the people who want jobs. So look at both the aspects. There's an employer and there's a person seeking employment. Until unless there's a matching requirement, we can keep on talking about CSR. Let's have a field where we find, say, here is a physically or a mentally challenged person, but he or she is capable of delivering at least, if equal or at least equally, the same kind of efficiency that you're looking at. Fine, without any further words, I will now first request the man who represents the special class, Charudat Jadhav, a man who has inspired me for the last 5 years to be on the mission. Charu, please.
Thank you, Sanjeev. I have certain views on this particular, the employment of people with disability and what we need to do. My observation is yes, corporate are not coming forward, or the employment in the private sector are low. But my observation says that corporate is ready to provide a job or give a job to people with differently challenged, provided they meet the certain criteria. So if we provide a talent to the corporate, they are willing to give a job, and it is fair, because we don't want a sympathetic approach. And corporate is primarily there to run the business. And if we involve CSR aspect into it, this particular initiative will never sustainable, and it is not good for the person with disability also for his career growth. So what is required today is, yes, in certain disabilities, for example, visually challenged, we will find a lot of people with very good educational qualification. Certain disabilities where we also find some challenge in their literacy level. But what industry required and what talent currently which we have today is there is a huge gap, and somebody has to work towards into this and to bridging the gap. Now, who will do this work is a big challenge. Last 10 years, I am seeing a lot of conferences are happening, job fairs are happening, but nobody is trying to work towards the bridging this gap. And specific, there are mappings are happening. There are a lot of research work has happened. The different industries, type of jobs has been analyzed. The people with disabilities, which type of job they can do if they have the required competencies. All these mappings has been done. But the bridging the gap, the academics will do, NGOs will do, or the corporate has to do. This is still unresolved, and this is where I see a challenge. Basically.
No, thanks, Charu. I appreciate the way you put your perspective on the challenges. But let me quickly ask Navdeep. Navdeep, you've been an employer and a great percentage of your total workforce. And he will explain the numbers as to what SR Foundation and SR Group has employed from this class. But you've been an employer. Why don't you share your views on the people that you've employed from this class? Are they different? What have been the challenges? And going forward, are you going to do more?
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate Charu's point of view that it's not the sympathetic approach. So I always within our internal discussions we look at that whether it is this kind of approach or is it this kind of approach. So are we looking at giving something like this, or are we looking at a collaborative approach where we come to an equal platform and then the subject matters of equity, parity, all they are resolved, because now we are collaborating with this section of the society which was earlier was only in the category of have-nots or the misfortune or not that fortunate enough. I just looked at this number is glaring at me, 97%. Out of 26 million, which is this 2%, 14 million are literate out of this 2%. And 9% of that, 9 million are in the rural sector and 5 million are in the urban sector out of this 2% which is actually glaring at me. At SR, as I think the audience is aware about SR as a group, so we have two major, you can say, divide in the group companies. One which is core sector, manufacturing, mining, extractive, oil, gas, power, shipping, that kind of businesses. And then the other sector is the Aegis, which is the BPO business, and we have a retail business called the mobile store. So, we had to prove the point first, which Charu is mentioning, before we move on to the core sector where there are a lot of labels coming to us, a lot of issues coming to us in terms of safety, security, the terrain, the tribal, the remote. So there are lot of challenges in the, and the typical, as Charu mentioned, the typical requirement of the corporate of a plug and play employee. We are all so used to of it. We open the box, there is a battery, it is half charged, we just switch on the phone and start playing on the apps. So that whole mentality that everything is plug and play, I think that's also a big challenge within the private sector. And I think as a society at a large, we also need to think around that. So these are few things which we've come to know as part of this journey within the Aegis business. They adapted a lot of things, and thankfully there are a lot of tools, there are a lot of softwares which are available, which enables this entire thing. But I think there's a lot to do. There would be a lot of criticism by our friends, but I think at least we have embarked upon a journey which is giving us a lot of learning inside, and we are happy to share them with the like-minded people who would like to understand what all we have experienced during this journey. And it's just one part of it where we're looking inside, but In addition to that, we are also looking outside. And from the, again, equal component, when we look at a differently abled person, what we look at is that he or she needs help to cross the road or, jump into a bus or come out of a bus. So as SR Foundation, we also internally had a brainstorm and looked at the next level. We all know Maslow's hierarchy needs. So we also tried to work at the entertainment part of this section. And within that, we looked at the visually impaired people. And I think, I don't know how many of you are aware that this country doesn't have a law that Bollywood movie will be released without audio description. But when that same movie is released on the same day in UK, it is released with audio description because the UK theatres are equipped that the blind person or the visually impaired person can walk freely, buy a ticket and watch that movie with the audio description device. So that's the area where we started working with Unmukt. And there we are trying to work with not only converting the content with AD, audio description, but also we've taken up a task to do the screening across country. First phase is about 20 cities where we're working with the visually impaired school children. Tare Zameen Par was the first movie by Amir Khan, then Three Idiot, Bhag Milkha Bhag is under preparation. We are also looking at, and we have to do a lot to catch up. So there are two components of what our approach towards it, and we named that project called Unmukt, which means you're free. You're free to actually access everything which you want to access. So there are two components. One, which is an employment skill part, which is leading to the employment. The other part is an entertainment part also, which we are trying to, work towards that. And in this whole journey, a very interesting format has evolved. Aegis, which is most of the business is voice-based. So there's a lot of good voices available within our employees. So we are trying to use those voices to convert the content by audio description and then making it available to the masses. So that's another area where we're trying to, so which will bring the appreciation of the ecosystem. The employees will be able to comprehend, adapt, that these kind of people are coming in as our colleagues, our teammates. So how do we adopt or adapt to that kind of a scenario? So this is just brief about what is happening in what is typically called in the black box inside SR Foundation.
No, thanks, Navdeep. It's very encouraging and laudable efforts of SR Group. The whole objective was, obviously in a panel we can have only one representative of each stakeholder. So through you we are trying to demonstrate and showcase that there are benefits. There are clear-cut benefits. So the attrition was one where we actually saw that when you employ people from this class, the attrition is low. But of course, apart from that, there could be other advantages. But the academic world needs to, create that awareness. And TISS, Dr. Vaishali is doing a lot of work on that. Dr. Vaishali, what exactly is TISS doing on this particular field, and what has been the success story so far, and what needs to be done further? Yeah, you press it.
TISS, Tata Institute of Social Sciences, we have the Center for Disability Studies and Action, which is primarily working in to create competency and cadre of professionals who will work in the disability sector. And if you look at disability, it lies in the mindset first and then in the body. So I think the sharings we are hearing from the experts, it shows that how breaking barriers from the mindset is a key, and it really leads to transformation in the field of disability sector and further disability discourse. So basically, I really liked what Mr. Saraf has mentioned in the beginning, that how we have to work at both the sides of the coin, at the corporates who are actually hiring people with disabilities as employees, and how we have to create a policy, an inclusive policy or inclusive employment policy for persons with disability. So that is one. And second side of the coin is about persons with disability and how you have to work towards their lives in terms of at micro level, at their individual and families level, and also at meso level, at the community in which they belong to. So working and understanding in the community context, and whether it's urban community or an employment community, and all the communities which are connected to persons with disability. And third, at a macro level, which is a policy level. So coming, since this is a skill conference, so the main key points which I want to highlight is the mission skills in terms of how convergence of disability across all the ministries is an important area of research today. In fact, I'm doing a study on convergence and governance for inclusion of persons with disability, and looking at how every department should think about disability. So that is one part. So connecting that to the skills of persons with disability, how all the different departments, whether it's HRD, skill development, labor and manpower, all the departments can come together with with a skills lens, and how skills development can become a key agenda for looking at persons with disability and their inclusion. So I would like to highlight here that one of the key element which is shared by our colleagues, that how it's like a corporate policy or employment policy is looking at input and output, and outcome and business goals has to be met. So one has to also look at in terms of the processes which takes place between the output and the input. So looking at process and process change is also very, very important in terms of inclusion of persons with disability. So I wanted to highlight on that. And the second important area is in terms of how we can connect to university levels for skill development. In fact, we are running a field action project called I-Access Rights Mission, which is a disability mission to make a university disabled friendly, and also looking at all the students with disability as a key icon for tomorrow, for transforming the employment sector for as inclusive employment. The third thing which I wanted to highlight is basically in terms of how all the policies, in terms of the HR policies, has to think about mainstreaming disability as one of their key agenda, and how that in terms of the employment, how the labor laws has to be governed towards including persons with disability and their skills. So it really gives a basic question in terms of the definition of skill, how we define skill, and how skill acquisition takes place in context of persons with disability. For example, a blind person or a low vision person will have a different levels of skills which has to be tuned to his employment, and which can become an inclusive policy for that particular corporate or that particular organization. I can give you an example of students with disability who has joined TISS having low vision. They have left their corporate jobs and joined to do disability studies and action to take a change, to create a kind of a platform where they can create their own ethnography in terms of how they can transform the employment sector for persons with disability, for inclusion of persons with disability under inclusive employment. So I think the field action project which I am talking about is having students with disability with a bottom-up approach, and they are telling us what needs to be there in the policy framework, and creating a policy for students with disability, and this will really benefit the entire university in terms of creating an accessible environment and disabled friendly laws which are student friendly laws for the university level. So apart from this, we have also involved sensitization and other kinds of programs under this field action project. And we want to create a hub. In fact, we are aiming to create an accessibility hub at TISS, looking at how we can include students with disability, and if we include them, it also cater to other vulnerability of other students. For example, a student with deafness who is studying in TISS, and we create a pictorial lectures and other kinds of lectures for him. So it benefits all the students with vulnerability and other vulnerable, who have vernacular background or any other kind of vulnerabilities can also be taken into consideration. So what I want to tell you all today in the skill conference, that if you make your employment or workplace disabled friendly, it will make the entire employee's life easier and much accessible to work in, to make that workplace as what I would say, a very inclusive workplace for everybody. So that is what, as one of the very key element which I want to highlight today, that how, and linking it to the skill, that how partnering with the universities can become a very key element to create a national kind of a picture for inclusive employment, for inclusion of persons with disability. So how licensing with the universities can become a very important component for, for inclusive employment. So in terms of how, now why I'm saying so, because all these students with disability tomorrow will be joining the employment sector. And they will, and today the self-advocacy has become one of the key elements, where they are advocating their own issues and their own, making amendments in the corporates and corporate systems and laws and other kinds of, rules, and allowing corporate understand the issues of persons with disability and, bringing about a change in the corporate sector. So how the lives of persons with disability, everyday life of persons with disability has to be understood, especially with the skill focus, so that, we can create an environment, a disabled-friendly environment at a, disabled-friendly environment at a larger level.
Thank you, Vaishali. A lot of things have been done by TISS and similar organizations, but the awareness level has to be done at an individual level. Until unless each one of you in this room, as I said in the starting, if you don't get associated yourself with one disabled person in your life, you'll not be able to appreciate the problems. I can challenge you, each one of you, if you close your eyes with a handkerchief, just with a handkerchief, and try walking into your own house at night or possibly without any assistance, you'll just realize how difficult it is. Forget about an environment at the road and when the roads, with all the buses and trucks going on. Awareness creation is the first step, and that has not happened in the country, unfortunately. And that's where people like, Dr. Vaishali and organizations like TISS and NGOs, educational institutions, students, all bodies have to work together. Corporates need not do awareness. I'm saying corporates need to give them jobs. And hence we need to work in the collaborative format, that let the work of awareness being done by the NGOs, by the educational institutions, but the corporates have to embrace the people by giving them jobs. And these corporates and skilling centers, now that of course we have a National Skill Development Corporation, we have a skill mission, and we even have the laws. I think the National Action Plan, which is a beautiful document which has been now presented, possibly states this in a very beautiful manner. The only thing remains is implementation, and implementation, and implementation. But since we have with us Charu today, who is a great example as to how he has succeeded in his life, and let me tell you, Charu is 100% blind. And Charu leads, he's a strategy head at TCS, a well-known leading global player in IT services. And he is leading a team of all and he is the one who taught me, I don't need sympathy, we need empathy. Until and unless each one of empathize with this our special class brethren in the country, believe me, we will all be talking hollow words in conferences like this and forgetting at the end of the day that we attended one. At least do your bit. Do something about it. As a student, as I said, create awareness. As an NGO, create awareness. As an NGO, help in the skilling of the people. But as corporate, very few corporate CEOs at the moment, as I said, please give them jobs. And don't give them jobs just because you sympathize with them, just because it's a CSR activity. Give them because they need it and they deserve it. So Charu, what exactly you feel that a specially able person can do and cannot do? So let us remove the myths that you have, and it's not I am speaking from a theory, let's hear it from Charu.
First of all, let me state that there's nothing that, a person with disability cannot do. First of all, my philosophy of my life, which I followed, and with God's grace, whatever success I have achieved, I never consider myself as handicapped, disabled, differently abled, or the person with disability. See, Sanjeev is differently able than me. Vaishali is differently able than Sanjeev. Everybody has their own speciality, own skills, which they have developed, and they are using their strengths and living their professional life. So God has made everybody unique, everybody is special, and everybody has come with their strengths and weaknesses. So I see myself as, yes, of course I don't have one sense, I cannot see, yes, but what is required is the final output. How I do that work is different. See, for example, if you want to work on computer, work on something, go and give presentations, or build your strategy, or build your paper, you see the monitor and do the work. I will, instead of doing that work that way, I use a software which reads the screen for me, and then I complete my job. So what I want to say to all of you, that, and if you see surrounding, when we work in a professional environment, all our colleagues, basically everybody's productivity is different. Everybody has all five senses. Everybody basically has been taken for a particular profile with evaluating their qualification and all other competencies. But still we see there is a change in the productivity. So there are certain other aspects which impact on the performance. So my first request to all of you, that don't look the person from the disability point of view. See what he brings into the table, what capability he has, it is fulfilling your requirement or not, and allow him to work the way he would like to work. For example, the accommodation. Now, Professor Vaishali has talked about accessibility. So what accessibility means is that the blind person will need a software to work on computer. So once you provide that software, I think he will be on his own. If you provide a job in a place where a computer is required, so that is the minimum accommodation is required. And after that, I think you need to evaluate him equally. You need to allow him. You put the equal responsibility like anybody, and they will deliver. Every disability has their own challenges, own limitations. So we need to provide some support to overcome their challenges. And finally, what that individual person will bring. The capability on the table is depend upon what academic qualifications which he bring, what capabilities, what strengths he bring, and what weakness which he will carry, which he needs to work towards improving the life. I see throughout my life, one of the challenge which I face is the mindset of society, which has created additional hurdles for me. Yes, today I am very happy what I have done in my life, professional life or personal life. But journey was difficult, and most of the challenges which has thrown to me is unwanted, basically, just because of the perception. And I don't blame society, because see, we saw people, blind people, yeah, they will be playing the instruments, they will be good at that. They may be as a telephone operator, they can do a job of telephone operator, or maximum they may be a professor or teacher. So we never thought a blind person can do something different than this. And when I went to even get my education in software engineering, 6 months the education has been denied to me, just because people thought that software programming engineering it's a difficult job for normal people, how blind person can do. But I have perceived that, and today I am a successful software engineer, I can proudly say. But 6 months, I lost my 6 months when I went for the job. A lot of places, if I say that I am a blind person, even I have been not called for the interview. So this is what has been faced. But today, now, I have changed my 4 jobs. So today, with 26 of my career, I am a very confident person. But why this has happened? That the positive attitude, my determination. But why this is required for everybody? Means why we cannot provide an environment where we provide an equal opportunity and allow that person to compete in mainstream. and provide the minimum support which is required to overcome that limitation, you will and you will see the change. And all our panelists, even Sanjeev, also talk about the benefits. Yes, attrition is one benefit, but I see there are the government has also given the financial benefit to the corporates. The provident fund contribution of the corporate has been refunded by the government. So there are monetary benefits. There is a social aspect. But what is more important is there is a talent pool available. Today we are telling that the talent is not available. There is a huge talent pool is available. We just need to channelize them in the right place, right way, provide them the right skills which they can start working from day one. And you will find the big segment of the society today in India who will not only contribute, but they will be asset to an organization and asset to country.
Wonderfully said, Charu. Let me
I'm
share.
sorry, but it's not for the clap, but I'm saying just see the people with different perception. You will find that everybody will bring different capabilities. Don't think about his limitations or his disabilities, because his disability can be overcome. Today, I'm completely independent. I travel abroad alone. I go and attend my client conferences. I give presentations on my own. As we all know, my software only reads text. But still, I go and present prepare PPTs or present PPTs, which has lot of graphics. And we all know that what we want to communicate effectively with lot of data, we can communicate with images and graphics more effectively than text. But still, with little bit accommodation, little bit more study, I can go and present that. So there are ways of doing it. You need to provide support. You need to provide opportunity. And you will find this segment is one of the good prospects for corporate, and which will bring not only a good employee, but it will also inspire. One point this is what has been shared by my colleagues, that it inspires other people seeing the way the people with disability perform and their exceptional contribution, and they feel that if they can do, why cannot we? And it has helped organizations. So there are a lot of positive aspects. You need to only take one step. Yeah, thank you. Sorry, Sanjeev.
No, I think he has always mentioned to me that, I don't want to go to conferences, but I actually pulled him, and he's not well today also. But, the commitment is that I said, let's share a panel and try to convince the corporate world that this is not a CSR, this is equal opportunity. As is rightly said, that each one of us are disabled in some way or other. If we were to ask you in an interview, please do your SWOT analysis. The weaknesses are your disability, right? And how are you more able than somebody else just because he doesn't have an eye or doesn't have a hearing? So I would say that let's look at from a different mindset. We have to break the barriers of our mindset, and that is where our society is lacking. But then when the corporates are recruiting, as he mentioned, Navdeep, RSR Foundation, because of course you can say that he is a large BPO and he can recruit people, but and the TCS which recruits people. There are many examples of and there we can go on and on, take examples of people who are disabled. I just remembered Arunima Sinha. I met her, who's scaled Mount Everest. Arunima Sinha, heard of her? She's got a Padma Shri just recently. Without one leg, she has climbed the Mount Everest. I mean, there are so many examples of people that can go do wonders if they have to do it. Now let's look at employability, and when I'm converging into skills, the point is, fine, one person is deaf, one person is blind, one person is dumb, one person doesn't have a limb, that's a disability. Look at the abilities, look at the knowledge skills, and can corporate India do enough to skill them to bridge this 2% and 97% gap? Isn't it the corporate India CSR responsibility to do that at least? To skill? And hence I would request that the skilling part is the CSR part, and the corporate world should start recruiting seriously. Last year we started a job website because I felt that technology is important. Let's create a job site. Naukri.com, Monster.com, Timesjob.com, all are there. And you all apply for jobs and get jobs. But where these special ability people get jobs from? They just go to somebody, isko job dila dijiye, ye andha hai. I'm sorry to use the word, but you know, I have to use this. Ye thoda fair nahi hai, iska kar dijiye job. Daya kyun? Why sympathy? As Charu said, we don't need sympathy. And of course, there is a small segment of this, special class which may beg for a job because of economic reasons, for different reasons. But don't look it from a holistic view. I know, ma'am, you're asking for time and I have to close. But look it from a holistic view. And then, after you've done the skilling part, after we've done the awareness part, look at the results. And here he has spoken about the results, one attrition part at least. Look at the efficiency part. Look at the absenteeism part. People who get jobs from this special class are thankful to you that you have given them jobs, and hence they're more loyal. They stick around more. Think about it. But we don't even look at it. We don't even actually look at it when we put out a job offer. I'm guaranteeing nobody even thinks about it until somebody says, "Isko rakh lo." And hence that mindset has to change. As you said, it cannot be this. It has to be a collaborative affair. Navdeep, I want to just ask you a last question, and so that it is important because the whole objective was that how corporate India can take advantage or should take advantage of this situation and employ more from this segment. Quickly, few words before Rick was close. Yeah. Just last.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting, and I think you're asking me as if I am the corporate, but let me look at the enabler part. I think what is missing is that in this typical very fast life, the business as usual thinking approach, and all which is fed in the boardroom mind of achieving targets, setting KPIs, achieving those kind of KPIs. So the whole sensitivity towards the subject which we are discussing, I think that's one major key as an enabler. So I mean, how do you do it? There are multiple methods of it, but there is a key which is to be unlocked, which will help to unlock that whether the decision makers are sensitized on a very regular basis, not just once. So are there multiple kind of channels to sensitize the decision makers? So for example, there is a Coffee with Karan on TV. So can we have our senior manager or a decision maker having a blindfold coffee with a visually impaired person and have a chat with that person? This is just one way I'm suggesting, and we're kind of experimenting more than one way which I'm suggesting here. So, this person needs, the district collector of Jamnagar had so many people meeting him, and we screened this Tare Zameen Par movie with 70% of the hall with the visually impaired people and 30% of the hall blindfold, including the district collector Jamnagar in Gujarat. And the next day, district collector Jamnagar called a meeting of the police commissioner or whatever, that whether our footpaths, whether our bus stops are disabled friendly. He was never ever thinking in these lines. He is the district collector. There was no sensitization happening. So this is just two examples I'm sharing that yes, we do talk about it, but what do we do about it? And who is thinking creatively around it? Corporate is one, and corporate has an objective. It is handcuffed and saddled with the business of business to do business. So I think that's one approach. But yes, from an implementation perspective, it has to have more ways, more innovations, more creative ways to look at it, because we are dealing with a very complex issue, and we're dealing with the most complex thing called human. So I think that's what I can suggest.
We have time only for 2 questions, so if, yes.
Thank you, panel, opening a specific topic. I have 2 questions. One theme is employability, on second side skill building. Now, in the special area, there are different categories. For example, vision, there are different categories. My one specific question to Ms. Charu, because she is associated with the education field. I am also associated with the education field. I am from University of Mumbai. do you have a categorization of jobs? Because generally we say there are more than about 27,000 jobs at present. So for each special status, if it is a vision, 40% vision, 30% vision, 70% vision, do you have a categorization of jobs? So perhaps the employability sector will be benefited later on. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you're mentioning to Dr. Vaishali. I think the question was for Dr. Vaishali, right? Charu is Mr. Charu.
Yeah. As you know, there is one law, Persons with Disability Act 1995. As per this particular law, there are 7 categories of disability: leprosy, low vision, visual impairment, mental retardation, mental illness, and orthopedic impairment. So there are different categories. Now there are new law which is coming, which is the Bill, Rights for Persons with Disability Bill 2012. Now this has 19 categories of different disabilities. So imagine the kind of work which you have to do when you are an employer hiring persons with disability. Now this bill is pending in the parliament, and now as you all aware, I'm not sure whether you are aware about it, UNCRPD, that is United Nations Convention for Rights for Persons with Disability. Now India is signatory to that, and you have to change all your policies by including persons with disability. And there's a slogan there, nothing about us without us. So for every, every policy which you are framing, you have to include people with disability in framing those policies. So the same applies with skill development or inclusive employment. Whenever you are creating a kind of a policy for persons with disability, you include the employees and their consensus into framing these law diversity policy for persons with disability. And all the NGOs and corporates are doing work with different categories of disability based on their agenda. But what I want is, corporates should not only look at certain, like visual impairment, we will give only job to visual impairment or only hearing impairment, but they should open up to all categories of disability, because the policies which are coming up now onwards, like the bill, if it is tabled, and now it is having more teeth. So with the tribunal and other kind of, sectors involved in that bill. So you have to, then it will be penalized. If you don't implement it, you will be penalized. So, I want that if you can just answer with what the work you're doing, it will be nice.
Yeah, I'm working with the, there is the National Skill Development Corporation. They also have that Sector Skill Council which comes up with the, within the sectors, where are the opportunities for various PWDs inclusion. I have this sheet which I'm working on for my new assignment. We're signing a MOU with NSDC, SR Foundation, NSDC, to work on this subject. And I just read for ITES, there are companies like Wipro, IBM, our company, Genpact, HCL, WNS, Excel, all those companies. And we are not looking at first at the PWD, we're first looking at the job roles. So the job roles here, they run tester, production support executive, language translator, admin executive, telephone operator, help desk executive. And once I've seen those job roles, now I'm looking at what is the fitment. So here I'm looking at, okay, visually impaired or a physically impaired person can do these roles. So now if I look at Infosys, so they are looking at a data entry person. So a data entry person can be a hearing impaired person. You don't need to hear anything, you just need to look at it and feed it. You have a BPO executive, you have a graphic designer as a hearing impaired person. So the list goes on: agriculture, gems and jewelry, media and entertainment, healthcare. So just to put a specific to your question, it is the sector, it is the job role, it is the competencies, it is the qualification criteria, and then you map it, the fitment, into what person can fit into it in terms of qualification, or if it is coming with any differently abled person, how the fitment happens. So it is already on the cards.
Last question of the day.
Yeah. The mic, ma'am. Just take the next mic.
All right.
I represent an organization which I founded just about 6 months back, and we are working towards skill development and with a special focus on developing skills for people with disability. Now, since we started on this mission very, very recently, we also wanted to highlight that apart from the interest that comes from the employers, there are organizations currently already doing skill development for PWD. This is not something new that we're doing.
Ma'am, we can't hear you. Can you please take the mic?
Okay, all right. So, what I wanted to say was, since you are associated with NSDC and there's a specific sector skill council now for PWD, I think it is very imperative also that the kind of skill development that happens for all the other people, maybe the general category, if we can call them, the same standard should be applied for people with disability as well, so that the acceptance at the corporate level increases manifold. So today there are a lot of trainings and skill development that are happening for people with disability, and people are getting skilled and employed, but maybe there's a gap that exists in terms of competencies. Though they are performing the same job that is required. As you said, you know, we define the job and we define the components of the job and we kind of chalk out the QP nurses. And the QP nurses should be followed while skilling. Doesn't matter whether a person is disabled or not disabled. That is how you empower the disabled. You don't sympathize with them. So
ma'am, do you have a question or it was a suggestion?
So the question is this, that is the Sector Skill Council for PWD working towards it already? And are you going to be coming out with something like this?
Yeah, I don't represent NSDC, but also I think you misinterpreted. There is no Sector Skill Council for PWD. All various Sector Skill Councils are developing programs or training programs for inclusion of these people in their curriculum or everything. So there is no Sector Skill Council for PWD. It's not there as far as my understanding is concerned. It's not like that.
Just to answer your question, yes, basically there is a comprehensive plan has been prepared by the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment and National Skill Development, where what Navdeep is saying, every sector, there is a specific requirement from the people with disability, what we should be doing has been planned. And it's a very comprehensive plan to make sure that the skill development of people with disability has go to the next level, and the opportunity of employability will be there. So this is available on the ministry site, which you can go through. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. With that, we close the panel discussion.
I think
for today.
yeah, we just want to summarize in 2-3 words that, and I am borrowing from Dr. Vaishali because she didn't say the same words. I written it, she had said, disability lies in the mind of each one of us. And hence each one of us have to play a role in sensitizing the entire society as to who, what the class is all about and what are we doing about it. And please take steps in each of the organizations that you represent to ensure that this class gets its due. And thank you especially, those organizers will thank you for staying back the entire day, but this panel especially thanks you, each one of you, for staying back and listening to us.
I thank the panelists, and the three takeaways for me, the three important words are: do not sympathize but empathize and adapt. Each one of us have to adapt to these new thoughts to make sure that we do our bit to empower the people who are differently abled. With that, I call Mr. Bijay Sahu to give mementos to our guests. Mr. Sanjeev Saraf, Dr. Vaishali Kole, Mr. Charudat Jadhav, And Mr. Navdeep Singh. किधर छोड़ना है?